Welcome to In Edina, a program about the people, places, and activities all in the city of Edina. I'm your host, Lillian McDonald. We bring you this broadcast from the City of Edina City Council chambers, where we get to know our newly elected or re-elected officials. And we'll start with Mayor Jim Hublin. Thank you very much for joining us in Edina. And City Councilmember Ann Swenson. Hello. Congratulations on your re-elections.
Thank you very much.
And you're full in swing and underway, and there's a lot to talk about, always here in the city.
Always in Edina. There's all kinds of things going on.
Everybody's talking about the budget and the economy, so let's just start right off the bat. We've got a leaner, meaner budget we're working with going forward.
I'd say we've got kind of a status quo budget. We've got a budget that makes certain that we take care of the people that work for us with a cost of living increase. We've got a few other things that we had to deal with on a commodity price increase basis, some state mandates that we had to budget for, but it's about I think on the general levy, about a 4.4% increase. And then we also did some budgeting for the potential new public works facility, which puts us up at about a 7% increase if that goes forward. So we provided for being able to do the levy in the budget in the end of '08. And if we go forward with it, we'll sell the bonds in '09.
Mm-hmm. You know, now that you're back in office again, we had good times, so to speak, back then as you look back, and now you're really facing some huge challenges. Are we equipped and are we ready positioned to go, and how do you address that? How do you keep it fresh?
Well, I don't know about the word fresh, but we feel like we're probably more well situated than any city in the state. We don't get any local government aid. We've never gotten any local government aid. We also get what's called market value homestead credit, but because it's based on the property value in your town, we get very little of that. So I think in 2008, we had $116,000 that we lost to unallotment, and that was only 1/2 of our budget. We were able to deal with that with reserves. And we've got some reserves from '07 that we're bringing forward to keep us in a good position. If we lose market value homestead credit this year, we'll still be in great shape from a city standpoint. We're not like Duluth. We're not like Minneapolis. Duluth relies on the state for 70% of its budget monies. City of Minneapolis over 20%. We don't rely on the state at all. We're very self-sufficient here.
So that gives you an opportunity to work on some of the hot button projects like the Public Works building area. I know that's going to be on the forefront this year. Talk a little bit about that for us.
I think we've looked for over a decade for a location
Found one.
for a new Public Works facility because we're overcrowded and it's unsafe. It's an unhealthy work environment where we are right now. And so I think during the time I've been on the council, and Ann, you've been on 4 years. I think during the time Ann and I have been on, we looked at 2 or 3 different locations. I think I've looked at maybe a half a dozen locations, and now we found one that potentially works. We're looking at some environmental issues there that need to be resolved by the owner, but that'll be one of the big issues in our community this year. And it will be, I think, the last public building that, if we go forward with it, that gets reset. As we've gone through this whole transition period in Edina of moving to our next level of maturation as a city and kind of rebuilding and resetting our infrastructure after 80 years, basically, of use of other buildings.
How does the city council get behind a cause like this? Because it is a big project.
It is a big project, and I think sometimes that's your challenge as a council member to sometimes have to vote for something that's tough, especially in a year like this year when it's really hard. Financially, to say, yeah, we're going to bond for an $8 million popcorn plant because that's what's going to be best for our city in the long run. But I spent 10 years on Planning Commission looking at properties when the council was, and there isn't much out there. We're a built city, 97% built. All we're going to do now is rebuild.
All of the residents rely, though, on public work services. So you need the facility.
Ours are one of the best if you look at any resident. There was another article in the paper the other day that said, Edina, and it's our public works that people always comment on.
People don't always understand public works. Let's list off a couple of the services that we're going to get out of this facility in time.
Well, think of where we are right now. It snows and your street is plowed when you wake up the next morning. I mean, it's a wonderful thing. Move, 10 blocks east to Minneapolis and you have to wait for the snow emergency to be called.
The other big issue may be the federal stimulus package, creating some circumstances around transportation, in particular 169, 494.
A variety of different things that could come into play on a federal stimulus package as I think the President looks at trying to set our country on a course where we have greater productivity. So I think some of the projects are designed with that in mind. One of those projects would be 169, 494 interchange, the redoing of that interchange. Well, it's a project that's about a $185 million project as it sits, approved right now by Edina, Bloomington, and Eden Prairie. All the environmental work is done. It's ready to go. So if we have to deliver something within 120 days with the assistance of MnDOT, we could get that project delivered. Now we're looking at rescoping that project to get it to a point where it's a little bit more affordable, but we're still at about $135 million, primarily because Bloomington and Eden Prairie need a lot of local access to be able to engage in the economic development work that they want to do in their communities.
Well, clearly in these economic times and with these big projects on the table, there'll be lots to talk about in the City Council. We look forward to the issues and having you move them forward for us here in the City of Edina. Thanks so much for joining us on the program.
Yeah, thanks.
Thanks for your time.
You're welcome.
Bye.
Edina's newest City Council member, Mary Brindle. Congratulations. First term, you must be very excited.
I am, thank you.
We're 2 weeks into it, and there's not a lot happening, but you are taking kind of a conservative approach. Is that correct? You didn't really run on any particular issue. You're looking at them one at a time.
I am. I have been involved in the community enough over the last 10 years and not interested in this community to watch what issues are coming up and determine how I feel about them, and also talk to people, find out how they feel about them. There are some issues that, while they're important to the people who live there, I don't live in that vicinity. So it's important to find out what it feels like to be on the inside of some of those areas.
And I know people vote for you because you are new, maybe not a ton of political experience, but a voice of the community, in particular with all of your background. Let's just take an issue at a time. Fair enough?
Sure.
Let's start with Public Works because we know that's a big issue for the city to address. Where do you stand on that right now, given today's economic times, and that's a big project in the city?
Well, and the Public Works building is a place I've been in periodically. My son worked for Public Works for 5 summers, so it's a place near and dear to me and to my heart because they all treated him so well. The Public Works building is in need of an upgrade, both in space and the facility itself. And hearing Director Wayne, who will talk about it, there are just some upgrades that need to happen for the employees themselves, not only the equipment. Okay. So looking at the different options, I think economically, our economic times will drive the best time to move forward on that and just how to do it. But it's a foregone conclusion that we do need to do it.
Parks and trails, that's another beautiful issue that we have in our city. We like to keep them going strong. Anything or thoughts on that? Well,
I think we owe a huge debt of gratitude to the Bike Edina Task Force and the work and the vision that they have. And looking at the bike trail along 9 Mile Creek, for instance, and where that's going to go through Edina and connect to the Greenway, to other trails in the vicinity, I think that's a great resource and a great asset for our city.
Traffic is always a big deal in the city. 169, 494, not far from your house. Federal stimulus package might bring that to fruition. Thoughts on that?
Oh, I'd love to get rid of those lights. I always bring people to our house in different ways depending upon the time of day. and the traffic conditions. And I know that the trip time for a lot of these people will reduce when they don't have the lights at grade level on 169 at 494. So looking forward to that happening. Whenever it can happen, we'll be happy to get it done.
Mm-hmm. Light rail is something that interests you. Public transportation in general. Why?
Well, in the southwest corner of Edina, there's not a lot of transit right convenient to where we live. And whatever transit I would use, for instance, I would drive to that location and then catch a bus. And so what I'd like to see for everybody in Edina, light rail, when it runs through Eden Prairie, is just going to be a great asset for us. And so having 1 or 2 park and rides in that southwest corner will give all of us nice access to something new and fresh and exciting.
As a new member on the City Council, how are you going to navigate yourself through the challenges over the next few years?
I think you take it one day at a time, and the people here at City Hall are great at keeping us informed and giving us information with enough time to review it and get some feedback from residents on what's right, what's best. And so I think you just do it one at a time. You're informed, and you come ready to make a decision and mostly ready to listen.
Oh, Mary Brindle, thank you very much for joining us on In Edina. We'll be keeping an eye on you as you track your progress through the City Council. Congratulations again.
Thank you very much.
Jan Callison is serving on the Hennepin County Board of Commissioners, formerly the mayor of Minnetonka. We welcome you to In Edina. Congratulations.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Elected role. Yes, thank you. Well, big shift from mayor to a seat on the Hennepin County Board of Commissioners. What's it like?
Well, big shift certainly because there's a different set of issues and there's a different area, 14 communities in the 6th district of Hennepin County. Not a big shift because it's still a local unit of government. And the relationship with the state, for example, is much the same as we talk about the state budget deficit. I think service delivery is much the same at the local level. So it's a blend of new challenges and yet still some familiar ground. Well,
it's pretty exciting, too. You're working in all of Hennepin County, a very different demographic now. What do you see for the city of Edina in Hennepin County as you work now on a board?
Well, one of the characteristics of Edina is that in relative terms, it has the oldest population in the region. Minnetonka, I think, has about the 3rd oldest. So there's a high number of seniors in Edina, and they provide a different level of challenges, and the county is involved with those challenges in terms of providing services, trying to make sure people can stay in their homes, trying to make sure they have options. So that's one focus for Edina that I'm aware of after 2 weeks on the job.
So you've been working on senior programs, and of course budget cuts, that's the forefront. It's on everybody's mind, top to bottom, local to state government.
Absolutely.
How do we keep that from impacting our programs? I'm sure that's a big challenge for you. Other programs that you might be focusing on in your term?
Well, the truth of the matter is the budget cuts are going to impact programs. There's no way around that. The county board adopted its budget for 2009 at the end of December. Even as they adopted it, they made plans or assumed that they would be readjusting in 2009. And when the county administrator first presented the budget to the county board, I think he said in the past they've been asked to do more with less. Now they're in a budget where they will be doing less with less. So there probably will be, and there are personnel cuts in Hennepin County, there will be program cuts. The opportunity is to do things differently and do things better. And I think government always has to engage in that opportunity. And sometimes we do it reluctantly. When there are budget issues, we have to really embrace it and find new ways of doing business.
I know public transportation is a big issue for our city. How do you see that fitting into these changes in economic times?
Well, I'm a supporter of public transportation options, whether that's light rail or bus rapid transit or other means of giving people choice. And I've been involved in the Southwest Transit line, which is that light rail line that's proposed to come out to Eden Prairie through Hopkins, and Minnetonka. So I think there are lots of opportunities, and will continue to be opportunities with the county sales tax to increase our transportation choices. One of the reasons I think that's of interest to Edina residents and residents in my district is not just for transportation, but because transportation links into climate change and links into the environment. And people in this district are very supportive of finding new ways to control the impact that we have on our environment. One of those is for us to get out of our cars and to take other ways of transportation. And I have tried the bus into Minneapolis. I'm not sure I'll do it all the time, but we need to be willing to try new things. And our government needs to offer us new opportunities as well.
Well, and clearly with some fresh ideas with experience will be helpful on the board. We congratulate you again on your term. We embrace the challenges with you, and we look forward to the changes ahead. Thank you very much for joining us.
You're welcome. Thanks for this opportunity.
You're welcome. Joining us now is Representative Keith Downey. Welcome to Edina.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome very much. Well, we're 2 weeks into the session, and things are bustling as usual. And of course, it's a very big year. Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you.
On the election win. Yeah. And I know you're already busy hacking away at the budget.
Yeah, hacking away may be too strong a term yet, but everybody's trying to get their arms around what does this deficit mean and how do we somehow solve the short-term problem while still positioning our state for the future.
Well, we have a sizable deficit to address in a biennium year, and I know that you're interested in, and you see this as an opportunity.
I do, and you know, let's not underestimate the challenge. This is a significant budget deficit. Whatever the February forecast, comes in at, whether it's $5 or $6 billion, it's a big number, and there are no easy decisions. And words like cuts that might never have historically been on the table are on the table. But I really believe that the task before our governor, our House, and our Senate is to somehow do this in a way that positions us for the future and creates a nice, vibrant opportunity for the future of the state of Minnesota.
What can we reposition right now? What needs to be reshaped?
Well, interestingly, in a tough time like this, crisis though it may be, it is in fact a catalyst in the public sector to look at everything in, through a new lens. Look at the program budgets from the bottom up. Look at areas like consolidation, privatization, things that you normally wouldn't talk about in a regular budget year, you have a chance to get on the table. So key areas about the relationship between state government and county and municipal government, between state government and local school boards, all of those things I think can be on the table. And if we do it right, we'll find a way to make the cuts, solve the budget crisis and still position ourselves.
As Edina's and this district's representative, you have a keen interest in education, and you see our school programs here as a model that might help us reposition education statewide. Can you talk a little bit about what you mean by that?
I really do, and I want to be careful, not to express the, Edina arrogance here, right? But I graduated from Edina schools. I have a lot of pride in what we have done and who we have been as a school district, and I know the great job that our school board, the district administration, the principals, and the teachers are doing. I think a lot of innovative things are being done in Edina High School. I think the results continue to prove that we're one of the foremost and leading school districts in the state. So how do we restore some independence to independent school districts? Take off some of the state mandates, allow districts like Edina and the community of Edina to do the things we want to do while still maintaining an overall high level of education throughout the state of Minnesota.
As a new representative, how are you going to reach across the aisle and work together to get some of these initiatives through?
Yeah. People ask me, what's the definition of success for a freshman legislator? And frankly, I don't really care about my success. If we can walk out of this legislative session, whether it's on time or not, and look back and say, yeah, we solved this huge budget deficit and positioned our state for the future, that will be the definition of success, irrespective of what my contribution was. Now, I like to think that my business background and some of my management consulting experiences will be helpful in a time like this, but it's really all about doing what's best for the people of Edina and best for the people of Minnesota.
And you're also interested in bringing more private voice to the picture in some of these public programs, right?
I think there are opportunities to perpetuate what has been a really vibrant regional economy. We have to improve the business climate here in our state. We can't simply be the most expensive place to do business and raise a family in a northern climate. I mean, we have to remain competitive, and we have to continue this great legacy that we have here in Minnesota is not just a birthright. We're going to have to continue over and over to earn that, to re-earn that, to innovate and reinvent and continue to be that vital regional economy that we've all taken for granted.
Well, Representative Downey, I wish you the best of luck in
Yeah,
this session.
thank you.
We'll stay in touch. And thank you again for joining us on
thank you,
Edina.
Lillian.
You're
Yep,
welcome.
Bye.
Congressman Erik Paulsen joins us now. He is filling some big shoes in Congress in his new role after Jim Ramstad left following 9 terms. Welcome to Edina. Congratulations.
Well, thank you. It's great to be here today.
Well, you're newly on the job. We're full swing into January already. And we should note that you actually worked for Jim Ramstad in his first term. So you've had the pleasure of working with him and now taking over his place. What's it like?
And Congressman Ramstad really, truly was a friend and mentor to me in many, many ways. I'm always going to be grateful for that. And the one important lesson that he did teach me, which I will always take to heart and move forward, is that importance of civility in politics. And it's so easy in Washington politics or even in Minnesota to get lost in partisanship. And having that civility in politics is really important to get things done. And so that's what I'm going to carry forward.
And you are really coming into your position at an incredibly historic time with a brand new president, a historic moment for this country, new administration, and challenging times as well. How's it going?
No, it's going great. I mean, these are very challenging times, without a doubt. And I'm excited about having a new administration, a new Congress. There are a lot of members that I've been able to interact with on both sides of the aisle, quite frankly, that want to do the best for our country. And I'm excited about that opportunity. And with the new president coming in, it's a time for optimism. And I think people are more than anything looking for leadership. It's not just going to be a legislative year, I like to say. It's going to be a leadership year.
Mm-hmm. And there'll be lots of changes, too. At least people are hoping for change, or at least something to get this economy rolling again in many different ways. And I know you're working on that in Washington. What does that mean to the folks here in Edina? What are you doing for them here in Edina out in D.C.?
Well, in particular, I'm going to work hard and do whatever I can to help get our economy jump-started and back on track. And these are challenging times, not only for the corporate community, which we have a good representation here in Minnesota, but really the small business community that has been vibrant for many, many years in a high-tech industry. And I've been touring small businesses in the 3rd District, for instance, and recently just toured a very successful small business that's only been around for a couple of years, but they're growing, Recon Robotics. High-tech industry, it's a good success story right here in Edina. And they've got 15 employees, but they want to enhance that number. And I think given the right incentives to allow them to maybe pool health insurance opportunities for them to save money, but also provide those health insurance opportunities for their employees, and also give them incentives to invest back in their business, they're going to grow. And that's what we really need to do right now to get our economy
true. A lot
going.
of the attention does go to big corporate America and the cuts that they're facing right now, but keeping small businesses afloat, they also contribute to a growing economy.
In fact, they are truly the engine of the economy. About 75% of all new jobs come from the small businesses. So it's those mom and pop operations that have 15 employees, 10 employees. That's what I want to focus on and help as much as possible.
One of the biggest challenges you might face, I hear this from time to time, is constituents say, well, he's in office, and he got my vote, but I don't hear from him anymore. How are you keeping in touch with folks?
Well, I absolutely will keep in touch with people. We're going to do teletown hall meetings where we do opportunities to interact with people by telephone in large groups. And we're going to do town hall meetings as Congressman Ramstad did. I'm going to do a lot of outreach. And having constituent service top #1 priority for me in my 2-year term now is going to be very important. Ramstad had a very good reputation for helping people, whether it was getting their Medicare, Medicaid checks, Social Security checks, clearing through red tape with the federal government. Our office is really going to be a part of helping our constituents clear through that.
What other kinds of issues are you going to be taking from here all the way to the Capitol steps in D.C.?
Well, part of it, again, is jump-starting the economy and some health care issues. But I think also, if you look at some of the other challenges, it's making sure that we are doing the right investments. There's going to be more talk about stimulus and how do we energize the economy. But I would argue that we need to embrace long-term solutions. And Congress has been focused so much on short-term fixes, such as just sending a check out to people to make them feel good. It doesn't really help down the road if you're just adding to more debt. And I want my 4 daughters to grow up in a world that's going to have the same opportunities and choices that other generations have had. And so it's really looking for the long term of how we can get our economy back on track.
Congressman Paulsen, thank you very much. Congratulations. All the best to you in your new term.
Thank you very much.
Joining us now, Polly Bowles, member of the Metropolitan Council, and you are a liaison to the city of Edina and other cities, Bloomington and Richfield, on the Met Council. Welcome to In Edina.
Thank you.
Let's start with what is the Met Council so that folks have an understanding of how you fit into the picture.
All right, the Met Council was formed in 1967 as a regional planning body, and then in '94 it went through a merger, and so it now plans and operates regional systems. And the purpose of it is really to try and touch on issues that cities and counties can't cover themselves because the impacts or the issues cross the boundaries. And so we deal with issues that involve the entire 7-county metro area.
And some of the systemic issues that we're talking about, transportation.
Transportation, aviation, water supply, we do waste treatment, the water treatment, things like that.
And your role as the liaison, you represent District 5, right?
Right. I'm the member from District 5, and as a representative, my role is a little different from other representatives for the city. I really, my constituency is not the people of District 5, but all the people of the region. Mm-hmm. My concern with District 5 is really that, first of all, I live in Edina. I've been a lifetime resident. But it allows me to be more familiar with the issues and the landscape of Bloomington, Richfield, and Edina, and to make sure that their issues are heard and taken to the council. I may advocate for them if I think it's good for the region. If it's not, then I would be advocating for the citizens of the region.
And lastly, you're coordinating funds too at the local, regional, and statewide and federal level.
Federal level.
So that's
yes.
a big vision that you have to keep in place throughout these projects.
Right.
And one of them, transportation, which when people think of the Met Council, I think of buses,
Right.
public transportation, and in the 90s it was all about getting people to take the bus. Now they're taking the bus, but there's not enough revenue there to pay for more rides. Is that right?
That is right. Demand is up, certainly because of the economy and the recent gas prices. But when the ridership goes up, which we want,
Right.
Operating costs also go up.
Of course.
We also look at things beyond buses. We do the light rail. We're opening a commuter line, the North Star commuter line. We look at bike paths, pedestrian, all those kinds of things, and how they relate to other development patterns in the region. As things are developed and money goes into capital improvements, it also causes operating costs to go up.
Of course.
And the funding for operating costs has been recently
Cut.
designated from a portion of the motor vehicle sales tax.
Right.
And with the economy, people are not buying cars.
No funds.
And so that operating funding has fallen way short.
Or the federal funding is targeted or earmarked for certain projects like bridges.
Well, and the state funding that was
State
just
funding,
passed,
right.
the sales tax that was added last
Right.
legislative session, the legislature earmarked that for bridges. And so, which is a great thing, but it still doesn't
Takes
fund
away
some
from
of the other
works.
necessary
Right. So how do you
things.
balance all that, and what do you see for Edina in 2009?
Well, it's tough. They've had to raise bus fares, and which is something we hate to do because we want to encourage the ridership. But we're still operating at a deficit, even though we've gone into reserves and we've had to raise funds. And the recent decline in gas prices is not quite in line with the cost of diesel fuel. It has not gone down to the same extent. So it's trying to balance, how much do you have the riders pay and how much do the taxpayers pay, because there is a public benefit from having
Sure.
people ride. There are also, on the federal side too, the highway funding has gone down because of
Right.
the economy and their funding mechanism as well. The stimulus package that's been talked about is
Right.
perhaps coming in after the inauguration. We're looking at that too as a possible source of getting some additional dollars.
Any other things in Edina that may affect us? Aviation, waterways, anything like that? From your
Probably
viewpoint?
the biggest one right now would be in transportation. There is the Southwest Transit Corridor, which is being looked at for light rail and is one of the few on the board right now, probably first in line.
Okay.
Not decided yet, but that would, while it doesn't run through Edina, it would serve this quadrant.
Right.
Also, they're looking at trying to improve bus access and perhaps try and find a site for a park and ride in Edina, which would make it easier for people to use the buses from this area.
Well, poly transportation is always a hot button here, and we thank you for your work, and we're looking forward to the progress throughout the year.
Thank you.
Appreciate your time on In Edina.
Thank you.
We'd like to congratulate and thank all our new or re-elected officials for joining us on In Edina this month. I'm your host, Lillian McDonald. Until next time, have a great day.